If you join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It's January 14th, and we're here at West Rutland. A motion to approve the agenda would be in order.
I make the motion.
Second.
I have one addition under 5C, or to add 5C for the Proctor senior trip.
Oh, on to tonight's agenda?
Yes.
Gotcha.
All right. No objections? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. General public comments. So I will just say for the public tonight that we have a lot on our plate. We have the budget still to review and approve, so we are allotting 5 minutes for public comment.
Okay, so my name is Claire Molnar. I'm the school nurse at Proctor High School, and I have come to basically beg you to hire a registered nurse in Proctor High School next year. Because the rumor mill has it that may not happen. So what I made a beautiful PowerPoint that I'm not going to have time to show, but I also have some handouts I wanted to give you. What this consists of is a discussion of the scope of the 21st century framework for nursing process, what nurses do, and on the back of it you'll see a long list of things we do. A list of what the requirements are for the school nurse and the associate school nurse, the law pertaining to it in terms of licensure, and then a list of what the licensed school nurse can, or the registered nurse can do versus what the licensed practical nurse can do. And my thesis here is that the registered nurse by law may assess and refer, and has what we have what we call a scope of practice. So we work under the Board of Nursing. So our license as registered nurses comes through the Board of Nursing. It does not come from the Agency of Education. We're dually licensed. So we have both a registered nurse license and a license through the Agency of Education. Our scope of practice under the Board of Nursing says what nurses can do. And what nurses can do is assess and refer and create plans, and I have a whole big long list. But those people who do not hold the registered nurse license may not do that unless they are under the direct supervision of a registered nurse or a physician or dentist. So direct supervision in nurse talk means direct. It means in the building. So there are many schools that have a nursing assistant or a medical assistant or an LPN in a very large school with a couple thousand kids, and they have an RN and an LPN. The LPN is directly supervised. In our situation, where we're 20 minutes out by ambulance, where even if there's an accident in the other, in one building or another, it's a good 10 minutes across. Kids don't schedule their illnesses and accidents very well. They have a very poor history of scheduling only when the registered nurse is available. And my concern is that if you don't have a registered nurse, you have a liability to the school. If you don't have a registered nurse, you don't have the experience and the assessment skills that we all go to school to learn. So licensure requirements is each school shall engage the services of a person licensed as a school nurse, and that any educator employed in the public school shall possess a valid educator's license. So school nurse license is a baccalaureate prepared nurse. And they are is authored to provide school health services in grade pre-K to 12 and collaborate with teachers, administrators to integrate health and wellness, knowledge and skills throughout the school, and curriculum based on knowledge of pediatric, community health, emergency, adult, and mental health nursing, because we are actually specialists in pediatric and community health nursing. That's what school nursing is. And the associate school nurse is an associate's prepared nurse, also a registered nurse, who's authorized to provide health services in the school. The problem comes with delegation. So delegation is when you assign a nursing task within the person's capabilities, accepted by that person, with the RN knowing that that person is capable. And the person, according to law, the school nurse can only consider delegating nursing tasks that do not involve nursing judgment or any component of the nursing process, such as assessment or developing plans. So what you've done, if you don't have an RN, is you cut out this huge amount of ability. In addition, the RN in the school nurse office, I have 23 care plans. I have 19 emergency action plans. I have 5 kids on medical 504s. I have 2 or 3 more kids who are complicated medically, but on IEPs.
I think you're getting into personal information
so
with
that's-
students
I'm-
in schools this size,
I'm sorry, but what I'm trying to say is that those things count. Having a care plan counts, that's what nurses do. LPNs and LNAs, people like that cannot write them. So that work would devolve on the other nurse, who would then need to be always available. So Jen would have to be 100% available to the school if you don't have a nurse in the building, which means that Jen couldn't do some of her job, like teaching or lunch duty or all the other duties that she does. So you're double-edged sorting. You're providing less than adequate care to Proctor High School, and I care deeply about Proctor High School. My kids went there. I've been there for 20 years. It's home. And you're also, taking nursing care away from Proctor Elementary School. So my plea is registered nurse, not nursing assistant, not LPN, not medical assistant, not lady off the street that's got first aid. And, it's okay to have an associate school nurse, because the job difference between the two, and I gave you a list, is mostly in large, big ideas, calling meetings, chairing committees. And what else?
Okay.
I'm nervous.
all right.
The other thing I want to tell you is that Vermont has 0 provisions for the unlicensed assistive personnel in terms of standalone situations. And alone in a building is a standalone situation. So there's job descriptions for nurses. There's no such thing as job description. We create them if there's a person who doesn't have that thing.
Okay.
And Judith said that I could answer questions. So-
All right, thank you.
Questions? No questions. You all got it. Cool.
All right. Thank you. Next, under old business, is the co-curricular committee recommendations.
So Mr. Harrington was supposed to be presenting, he got called away. So I guess I'm it. So,
Got your back there, Jay.
thank you, Mr. DeBonis. So I have some,
Mr. DeBonis can help out because he was part of the committee also.
yeah, save me a copy, please. So we had heard from both Proctor and from West Rutland. We did not get information from Pulteney on this. If you remember at our last board meeting, we were asked to go back and we were looking at the proposals for evening across the district, across the SU, what those stipends could be. And so these were for both coaching positions, and these were also for class advisors,
I think just
everything in
class,
between that a teacher may get a stipend for.
Yeah, those go together.
So, yes, there's 2 different a single page that is a West Rutland and a multiple page that's the Proctor. So I'll wait for those to come around. I just wanted to give people context.
No.
We're stopped here. Or how about down there? We gotta keep
We
passing.
have to keep going. You guys need to.
We're all out, yeah.
We can share.
No, I've got about 5 right here.
Okay. Thank you.
He's got his. He's got his.
He will. No, Lewis
No,
has it in
Lewis
his
has
hand.
his. He's
Sure.
got it in his hand.
Yeah, why not? That's current.
I know, I'll wait for
Yeah.
it to get to me.
Yep.
Okay. And can I have
I'm good.
Great.
I know, you're a
Thank
good
you.
organizer.
All right, now we're
So-
good to go.
All right. Just to add one more pile of paper, Lewis is going around and handing out to you what are the current 2019, 2020 stipends for the entire SU.
Okay.
So that will give you that context as well.
And
So-
I have my numbers, I just don't, I can't print them off here,
Okay.
but I have my
They
numbers.
should be all on this too.
But I mean, for the projected for next year as well.
So if we want to look at, if you remember, that we've had a group working most of this school year on a way of trying to level the playing field. So someone who's a senior class advisor in Proctor is getting paid the same or roughly the same as a senior class advisor in West Rutland or Poultney. And of course, what we discovered as we go through is that everybody was at a very different place. So that group has been working quite diligently on that. In fact, Mr. DeBonis, you were part of that group. So they had created, in our last board meeting, we shared with you basically how do you arrive? They created a formula. And we were asked to go back and actually find out what the difference would be under that new formula. So I know Mr. Harrington spent most of winter break taking our current stipends, putting them through the new formula, and what would they be in the end? So on this single page, front and back, is the West Rutland School, and you see in the first column, the current stipends that we have for 2019, 2020. And if you look at the bottom of the first set, before it gets to sports, you can see that currently we would expend $10,800 for our staff in just extracurriculars. And under the new formula, Joe is projecting that it would be $12,650 for a difference of $1,850. If you go through the next section, which is sports, at the bottom, you can see at the very bottom, our current expenditures for stipends was $32,250. And under the proposed, it would be $39,850. Joe also took the time, if you go 2 columns over, you see the figure of $35,350, because Joe has projected this as realistic that we may be combining some teams next year because of enrollment. So we may not be, he went so far as to take a look at that, saying, what are our numbers? And do we really need a separate 5th grade and 6th grade basketball team? And these are also, again, projected. On the back of that first page, you see the Quarry Valley. We have 2 extracurriculars, bass fishing and unified sports. And Joe has put some figures there of what that would cost us. The increase would be of $750 for unified sports. Is right now that is being there is no stipend for the person that oversees that. It's a year-long position. And so this is something that would be done from August all the way through to May, or actually early June. So we thought of giving her a stipend of $750 would be the appropriate thing to do. And almost as if on cue, Mr. Harrington is back. And we did not go over the Proctor, and Mr. DeBonis does have the figures for Poultney. Do you want to explain the Proctor?
I assume everybody has that.
Yes.
So it's just a similar thing. It's the old salary cost compared to what the new proposed salary would be with the proposed pay scale and the extracurriculars and Total cost is in the blue on the bottom. Second page, first page is for athletics coaches, second page is for clubs and activities. Pretty self-explanatory. Last page, looks like class advisors, nothing's attached to that. I guess there's no compensation at Proctor for class advisors. So obviously,
Do you have a
Getting
bottom
nods that
line?
there is.
well, the bottom line would be adding
For middle
I don't have Pulteney's.
10,000,
Yeah, if you're looking at West Rutland, the bottom line
yep.
would be a total, if you look at the very bottom of the first page,
Okay,
so 2019-20, current staffing is 32.
So it's 76.
If
39.
everything was to stay the same, which that's why I did the other column, I don't believe it will, 39, but the realistic projected cost would be 3,000 more than what we currently spend, which is 35,300 compared to 32,250.
Plus the 1850 at the top.
Right, yep.
Plus the 750.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then on the Proctor, it looks like it's an increase of from 23,832 to 34,400, an increase of 10,500. For athletics, I do not see unless it's on the second page, total cost for Proctor for clubs and activities, but somebody was good at mathing.
Well, we don't
It
even do
says
half
total
these, first
cost
of
of
all. Like
clubs-
the elementary school, we don't, there's one thing on this list that we still have at my school. And that's peer leaders.
But if you look at the bottom of that one, it says in yellow, total cost of all clubs listed, 16,278.
Perfect.
And then
Oh, there it
total
is, yep.
cost of clubs offered
Yes.
is 10,998.
So they know they don't offer.
oh,
I
that's a
see.
good, that's a good point.
So
And,
Hidden
but
there, I didn't see
under
that.
the new
17.
proposed, it would be 17,750, so it's a difference of, close to $7,000.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
So
Do you-
obviously, that's
25,000
not
without Pullman.
cheap.
right.
I'm
No.
more than willing to go back and look at this again. I know we added an extra column for anybody. There are ways to look at this and finagle it some more to make, I mean, I'm not sure what Pulteney yet, but you're looking.
We're up about, it was between athletics and co-curricular, looking at about 10 grand.
So you're looking at an increase of, what,
30?
30,000, I'm sure that's not what everybody wants.
What did you say it
So I
was,
could
Joe?
relook at it.
10.
Approximately 10 grand. It might be a
Okay.
little more because some of them with the grandfathered in, the coaches are making more now than they
Right.
would on this scale,
Right.
so.
Okay.
But
If
with
we
this-
could then defer the rest of this to executive session for the board, because this was a negotiations component, and we'll discuss that in executive session. So, but we do thank you for your time
Thank
and
you, Joe.
breaking it out and showing us, and this is certainly much easier to read than
Yeah.
the last sheet we
Yes,
had.
and it was
So,
very interesting going through it and,
Yeah.
little amounts add up, that's for sure.
No, and it's a good practice just to see what we have and where we're at and where everyone's at, so. All right, the mascot survey is just, have we gotten that to Wendy yet?
So, the question I had about the surveys, I've not put anything together yet because I was actually looking for some direction on how to do that.
Oh, so what we were looking for was what you had to send to Wendy. What you had sent out, that was what we were looking
Okay.
for.
Okay, so what I did past June, what I sent out, okay.
Yeah,
Problem with that was all done on Google Forms. So a lot of that didn't save and it was never closed out, so people have added to it 2 or 3 times. It's
Okay.
not very accurate anymore.
Can you
So my
send-
suggestion
We
is-
just want to see the survey?
yeah.
Like the
The
questions.
questions,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's
So
what we
can
want.
you send that to Wendy, and then can you send what the result of, the winning result?
Sure, and
Awesome.
I can add on there all the mascot names that were
Sure.
nominated and the
Yeah.
colors, and I can give that to
Great.
you.
Yeah, if you send that to Wendy, that would be great.
Yep.
You're talking about the original one, right? The old
The-
Yeah.
The
Right.
original.
months ago.
Yeah.
Wherever.
So we're just, Wendy was waiting for that to get that together.
Sorry about that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mine is
And if we could, we'll do Proctor first, since they're all here, and then we'll discuss choice after. Is that fine?
Sure,
Okay.
absolutely.
So, Solomon, Ally, Joe?
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name's Ali Almond, and I'm the vice president of the class of 2020.
I'm Joe Valerio. I'm the class president of 2020. I'm Solomon Parker. I'm the treasurer.
So today we have for you our senior class trip itinerary, and our dream destination is Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So as you will see on this itinerary is travel costs, hotel costs, activity costs, and estimated pricing costs. So our first options for travel include the Greyhound bus that leaves out of Albany, New York and arrives at Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, or we take the Amtrak out of Albany, Rensselaer, and travel to Pennsylvania. And we're most likely going to go with the Greyhound bus just because of cost. But then we were looking at hotels and estimated around for 3 nights it would cost around $2,700 to $4,300. And the hotels that we've been all looking at are all continental breakfasts, so we won't have to worry about extra food costs there. And for food costs, people are expected to bring their own out-of-pocket food money because it kind of depends on where we're going that day or how people want to eat or where people want to eat or what they want to have. So another part of our activities, which will span on the 3 days, are city passes of Philadelphia. So with the city pass, you're able to visit 3 different expeditions, I would say, in Philadelphia, whether that's like a museum or going to the penitentiary, like some haunted
Planetarium, maybe?
No, it's a haunted penitentiary.
Oh, the penitentiary?
really?
Oh.
No,
Right.
Oh.
yeah, it's not a planetarium, it's a haunted penitentiary.
Oh.
And
Great.
so the
Interesting.
average cost for a 3-place
planetarium on
city pass would be $52, and we average that as $935 for everyone total. And then we are looking at emergency funds, whether that somebody falls ill or they need to have an emergency room visit. We have set aside another $500. So our total with the Greyhound travel would be $6,421, and with the Amtrak it would be $7,501. Keeping in mind that we want to reserve at least $2,000 for graduation because we have to supply caps and gowns, we have to figure out senior banquet, but yeah, that's our itinerary. Do you have any questions?
Nice.
So you have money to fund this?
Yes,
And you have money to fund the $2,000 you're setting aside you currently have? It's not additional fundraising?
correct.
How many kids are in the class?
So plan for the trip, we have 18 people that are committed to going to the trip. Some students have opted out, which is totally fine, but
Are people opting out due to financial concerns?
it's not due to financial concerns. A lot of people are going with their families at this time. Oh, I didn't even say the date. I apologize. We were planning on going the 25th to the 29th, which is a Thursday, I believe, in March, and coming back on a Sunday. So, because the reason why we chose that date is because we have a lot of student athletes in our class, me being one of them. And we wanted to find a time where it was kind of an in-betweener between sports, like very into basketball, rolling into softball, baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So that was probably the best date that would have worked for our class. And yeah.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for them?
You did a nice job organizing this.
A motion would be in order to approve the Proctor Junior Senior High Senior Class trip to Philadelphia.
I will second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. All right. West Rutland Senior Trip.
The West Rutland senior trip is going to be to Disney World, Florida. The plan is to spend 4 days down there. They're flying, hoping to fly out on the 29th of April and returning Sunday, May 3rd. They, probably every second or third year, we do a Disney trip. The money has been raised, and I don't have those figures in front of me, what that is. There are a couple kids who have opted out, but it is not for financial reasons, it's just because they just don't want to go. They're continuing to fundraise. I think they have made the money to put the down, for the deposit. We've never fallen short on raising money for this trip in the past. I believe that they're close or have already raised the money for the trip.
How many,
Weekend that all the seniors throughout the country go down there. I'm not sure if people are familiar of that, so it's just open for high school seniors during the 4 days they're there. Yeah. Which,
and how many kids are traveling?
number of students are gonna be 13 and 2 to 4 chaperones.
Do you want to share, I know Julia did a nice job listing the itinerary, I know.
Yeah,
it
do
says
you have
like
the itinerary
Epcot.
here? I could go make copies of it.
That's
tonight,
okay.
I'll just pass
Just
it
read,
around.
read the highlights of the
Sure,
itinerary.
highlights. Let me see, Wednesday the 29th, leave school 11 a.m., head to, Albany Airport, arrive at Disney Resort at 7 p.m., check into rooms. 30th, Animal Kingdom, lunch, Magic Kingdom, dinner, parade, fireworks that evening. Friday, May 1st, breakfast, Hollywood Studios, lunch, they give you a voucher, lunch and dinner vouchers, a show that night at the main resort. Saturday, they're going to Epcot, 2 parks in one, Future World and World Showcase. Then sometime in the afternoon, they're going to be given free access to any of the parks that they want to go to. Waterfront Desert Show is a group, May 3rd. Check out a resort at 9 a.m. Take the Disney transport to the airport. Head home via JetBlue nonstop flight and return back to school at 4:30 in the afternoon. Quite a whirlwind trip.
And what is the estimated cost of the trip?
I honestly don't have
She,
that in front of me.
that form doesn't ask
Yeah.
for it, so it's
Okay.
not on
Yeah.
there.
Okay.
So it's kind of the form's problem, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
Correct that in the future.
sure.
I was looking also.
All right, questions?
Got enough chaperones?
We will
Right.
have- I don't think that will
They
be a
might need a
problem.
board volunteer.
If I could.
All right, a motion would be in order to approve the West Rutland senior class trip to Disney.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. The next is high school choice.
Do we ask,
We added that to your packet. It-
Pulteney came earlier, didn't they? No, they haven't? Oh, was that last year? Oh.
You
Oh,
have mine.
oh, you do?
I want to know where Pulteney's going. You
Get the answer, Joe.
So, actually, they just met yesterday. They've been talking about, they met yesterday morning as a class. They'll be going at the end of May, and they're actually gonna go to a dude ranch in southern New York. So, for a few nights. It's an all-inclusive place. Sent out a survey at the beginning of the year, asked where they wanted to go. We didn't get very many replies back. One kid said he wanted to go fishing, another girl said she wanted to do horseback riding, and voila, it's like
together.
everything is right there.
There you
So,
go.
the kids are kinda, it's only gonna be for a couple nights, but that's long enough, but it's, about $7,500 to go. But like I said, it's all inclusive, the meals and everything else is included there, so it'll be a Friday to a Sunday.
And how do they travel?
We don't know yet. We might
Okay.
just do a school bus, just because it's a drop-off. It's only 2.5 hours away.
Yeah.
It's a drop-off, and they're there. It's unlike other senior trips where you gotta keep getting on the bus to go to this place and that
Right.
place. It's,
Riding High Ranch.
nope, it's Pine Ridge Dude Ranch.
And how many kids are in the class?
There's 29. We don't know how many are going yet. Based on my past experiences, we'll probably have 22 to 25 going. So, It'll be interesting because it's all-inclusive, we're not going anywhere, so it'll be a first for me, so it'll be interesting to see how.
They'll have a good time.
Oh, yeah, it's like, you're not
Sounds
like,
fun.
hurry up, we got out, wait for
They'll
everyone to
get
get on the
home.
bus at 5 o'clock so we can head out to dinner and that type of stuff.
They all sound fun, but also different.
Yeah,
Oh, very
Kind of
different.
cool.
yeah.
And they're different dates, so if somebody needs to go to all three.
Yeah, there you go. You need to supervise as a
leave
board
hard
member,
over here.
right?
I don't know.
To make sure we understand what senior class trips are really about.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions? Motion would be in order to approve the Polteny High School senior class trip to the Dude Ranch.
Make a motion to approve. Food range, sounds fun.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great.
That
All
was fun.
right.
Now, for another fun time.
Yes. High school choice.
High school choice. So these are the guidelines. In high school choice, it's actually in state statute that, what I like to say about it is people need to understand it's a limited program. That means it's not wide open. You can't do it any time of the year if you move. There's a lot of misconceptions about it. So I will go over them. It's a statewide program. There are limits. So 5% or 10 students, whichever is fewer, is the minimum number of transfers in a year. And in no case to exceed 10% or 40 students, whichever is fewer. And that's a maximum cumulative. So that means, like if some kids transfer in ninth grade, they still count in 10, like you might have like 5 students in your whole school, then the maximum you could do if you added kids in would be, say, 8. You'll see the ranges on the
So
back.
this is per school.
This is per
Yeah,
school.
per
Yeah,
school.
we did the number because it's kind of a formula. We have to set the limits by February 1st. Capacity's not really an issue. Application process, and we use a lottery in each school, and applications are due March 1st. So after this, we'll get the word out to everyone. Preference is granted to those who were denied in a prior year, and we did have several people we had to deny. All applicants must come via school of residence, applications. No funding follows the students. The ADM stays with the school of residence. So when you consider this, it's not like you're losing money from school to school.
Right.
That stays with the kids. We can set limits there. They apply to incoming and outgoing students. Both numbers are cumulative. Preference is given to those who are denied. I just said that. And the board sets the annual transfers. Then there's the lottery that the principals pretty much know how to conduct. And then there's a reporting, so after they do their lottery or their applications, actually, it would be nice to report back to this board, how many students, et cetera, et cetera. So if you flip the page, you will see, and I wish I had put in what we had last year, but you will see Polteny High School has currently 130 9 through 12 students. Remember, there's 7 through 12, but this is only a 9 through 12 program. So based on 130, their minimum would be 6, and their maximum could be 13. Proctor has 82, their minimum would be 4 at 5%, their maximum is 8 at 10%. And West Rutland is 74, so their minimum is 3, and I think last year it was 4. They went down just enough to bring it down, and their maximum is 7.
Immediate question.
Yes.
How is it possible to have preference and blind lotteries? I guess that's
So
a
if a
question
kid
for
has been
state, right?
denied before,
Yeah.
will they just
They're at the
automatically
top of
get
the
it?
list,
They're
yeah.
at the top of the list.
Why is that relevant if there's then a lottery for shorts? It sounds like it would only be
The
relevant if
lottery,
you're below.
the lottery happened, well, go ahead, Joe, you
I was gonna
explain
say,
it
say we
better.
have 5 students right now, so we have 1 spot open.
Yep.
And a kid got denied last year, they get that
that
spot. So
spot
now we have all
automatically.
6 spots full, because once you're in, you're in. It doesn't, you don't have to reapply every year.
Lottery only,
So we have 3 kids that apply, and we only have 1 spot open. That 1 spot goes to the kid that got denied last year. So, or, okay, maybe say 4, we have 2 spots, 2 spots open. 1 goes to the kid that got denied last year, the other 2 are in the lottery to see who gets. And it's
next
just,
year.
yeah,
If they
who
could-
gets to go.
So
If
would
they
that-
want to continue to.
Would that be why we're spending a lot of time? Like, do people know that, they go to the top of the list, that they get to, I know
Yes.
we had a conversation
They
about,
should
like, wow,
know
we're
that.
spending a lot
Well,
of time
no,
talking
what
about-
we spent a lot of
Missed
time
the
on is
deadline.
people who were unaware or people who moved who wanted to do it after the
Or siblings.
deadline
Do you
date.
think
The-
they're
the-
unaware, or do you think they know that they get preference if they're denied?
Well, applications are due at the end of
But I
February,
think the-
and people think about it over the summer, and then they're like, oh, my kid wants to go to this school, and it's like.
Too late.
Too late, you had to do it in February, and
So they're not, so some of the cases we've dealt with this
Did
year,
not
they're
apply.
not going to be a preferred
Right, because they
person,
didn't
because
apply
they
last
did not
year.
formally, yeah, okay.
Right.
They
Yeah,
have to
right.
They didn't
apply this
follow,
year.
I see,
Good.
so because they didn't follow the procedure, they're not now given.
Right.
They
No,
did not
it's,
apply
it
for school
applies
choice
to
formally.
people who were in the lottery and didn't get in,
I see, that makes sense.
okay?
not the ones that came in August and
Okay.
said,
Okay. 'Cause I was gonna say, well, we're kind of continuing that process, okay.
Yeah.
No,
And with respect to parents, no, I know in Proctor, the information goes out, I'm sure it's no different than Pulteney and West Rutland. It goes out now, and they don't get very excited about it because their kid's in school and everything's settled and no one's too worried, and so by the time it's, they want to do
Whatever
it.
happens in the spring, and
Yeah,
it's too
or
late.
over the summer, as Joe said, then they want to change, so.
and the reason why it's set in March is because they need to sign up for classes and get put into the scheduling process.
and just because a student, say a Pulteney student says, I want school choice in Rutland, and we're like, yep, you're one of the 6, you got it, Rutland could say, sorry, we're
We're
full,
full.
we can't
Right.
take you. So just because they are accepted doesn't necessarily mean that other
They're in.
school
Has
Yeah.
to take them.
has to take them.
Just, this is actually, I guess, just curiosity. Can they literally pick any
Any
Yes.
school in
In
Rutland County.
Public,
Any
Public.
public high school
Public.
yes,
public high school?
correct.
in the
But there's
state.
no, but there's
Transportation.
no transportation, you have to provide your own transportation
Right.
to the school.
And it can be in the state.
So, the question for the board is the number.
The percentages,
Excuse me?
percentages?
The numbers that are on the back, yeah.
They don't.
So what's the question about those numbers?
So last year, we set it at, do you have the numbers
You
from
had
last year?
six, 4, and 4.
Oh, yeah, 6, 4, and 4. So.
Sorry, I should have put those on, but I remember it, so.
So last year was 6, 4, and 4. And so the conversation is, do you want to make them all 6, 6, and 6? Do you want to put them all at the maximum? Is there another
Would there be a benefit to doing that?
numeric formula, putting them at the max?
The thought was that could decimate your senior class, so I would recommend we keep it as is.
I like this.
I like that idea too.
What do you think about our number?
Wait, what was that?
I defer to
Okay, it's the whichever is fewer.
so.
So we would not go by the percentages, we'd go by the 6, 4, 3.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Does it?
You know
is it
what, I'll be
working
honest with
for-
you, I forgot that this was coming up today with the school choice, and I was here all day at meetings, so I didn't get the numbers of how many we have out right now. I know we're
You're at the
maxed out,
max.
obviously.
So you're at 6.
But I don't know
Yeah.
how many,
Six,
how
you
many of
said.
our seniors this year and that type of thing, so I'll be honest with you,
What opens for you, yeah.
Discussion purposes, I'm open to us at least increasing a couple spots potentially in Pulteney, just based on what we've been through. Some of what we've been through is gonna happen anyways, because it's been outside of this program in reality, so.
And I will tell you that the requests have been both in and out. I wouldn't worry so much about, that you're going to lose kids, because I think you'll gain kids too.
Right.
I think we had asked you that, and you had said it all kind of
Washes
flushes
out.
out, that,
Yeah.
if it were to
It
be
does.
sort of open, or if it even were more, that we
We've-
might be surprised that.
we've had kids try to come in, and
Fluid.
it
You
was
have no
like,
number.
sorry, you can't,
Yeah.
middle of the year.
We could have increased our numbers, but we didn't.
So if we say, for example, if you say Proctor 4 can leave, does that mean that 4 can come in?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's both ways.
You don't have one number and a different number for the in?
No.
Okay.
I mean, it can be different in who wants to go and come. It could be 2 and 3, or,
Right, right.
but we don't have control over that. But your maximum
Okay.
is the same.
This year, I guess for West Rutland, we've had actually more people look to come in than out. We've had lots of requests already for next year, so people who are waiting for us to just, for this to be figured out so we can post it. We've definitely had quite a few inquiries, and this does not include kiddos who already have school choice from, Rutland Town or Ira or Barstow, Mendon, Chittenden, those types of things. This is just kids who have an assigned public high school already.
So Jay, based on that, are you thinking that you'd like more for West Rutland?
Well, right now we're at 4.
Yeah.
4. We would love to have it to be 6. I don't think, I heard Jim's concern. We don't want it to decimate our class. I think it goes year in, year out, depending upon the group, and it does. I go with Judy that it really does kind of wash itself out in the end, but we could definitely pick up a couple of students who are interested in coming here.
And Jim, it's been my experience that most of these kids that do the school choice do it as an 8th grader
Yeah,
they start their
8th
freshman
grade,
year, and
yeah.
it's not like they jump ship.
It's
junior
seldom that a
year to
senior
senior
will
year,
jump
unless
ship,
it's
actually.
No, but we have seen where we've had 3 or 4 that were freshmen leave. We've had groups
Well, we took-
leave
we-
in that way, which is why we historically, when we were the RCSU, had always set ours low.
Low.
Yeah.
Well, we took the cue last year from the administration, and this was the recommendation of the administration, so that's why we acted on the numbers that we did. If you think we can gain students, I'm all for changing those numbers, because that's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think we would gain more than we would lose, to be perfectly honest.
Whatever you think is a reasonable, wise number, I will certainly back it.
I think for West Rutland, 6 and 6, I think would be, so that it has to be the same number. I think 6
Yeah.
would be a reasonable number.
Judith or somebody, does
thinking
anybody
just
know
to
what Chris
save
feels?
us
He would be,
People
I'm
coming
sure
in
with
here.
6 would be fine.
Yeah, we're
also.
at the max currently.
You are at the you're all at the max.
There's a lot of things.
Right,
Sometimes
but
it's
school
right
is
now,
at the
this
max.
No, I mean currently,
always
not
personal
just the number
ways, you know,
here,
it's kinda-
but
I'm trying to think, though, I
in
think
and out, we are at the max.
You mean for next year, the
Would
number to
still
set 6, I'm
happen, 'cause
sure,
they've
if
all
West
been-
Yeah.
I'm sure Proctor would be fine with
special
6.
requests,
Yeah.
basically.
So if we do 8, 6, and 6,
Sounds reasonable.
I will.
6 and 6.
The motion point?
we could still be
Oh, you can make a motion and then you
conversation.
can discuss
Yeah.
it. That's what you're really supposed to do.
Yeah, we always,
We always
I-
discuss and then motion.
I would make the motion to have school choice numbers at 8 for Pulteney, 6 for Proctor, 6 for West Rutland.
Second.
any discussion? All those in favor? Great.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. All right, consent agenda. So we have minutes, and we have the superintendent's report, and all the other reports and warrants. If we could have a motion for the consent agenda, since we have the budget tonight, you've had it in your packet. Unless there's something that someone has to discuss, I just like to move as
Can
quickly as.
I would just like to go over all the annual meeting stuff.
Oh,
Which is in my
sure.
report. I
Yep.
always like to do that, A, in case I make a mistake, and B, so everybody's aware, especially, we have a couple of new people on the board.
Sure.
Okay, so if you skip to number 2, so I sent an email out. Petitions for running for the school board are
Yep.
due January 27th, and I think it's pretty clear, some people, like Sarah and Kristen and Seth are all filling a term, and that all went out in the mail, email, so you should know.
Yep.
The warning, 30 days is at February 2nd, which is a Sunday, so the earliest we can do it is January 31st. And 40 days is January 23rd, and I just said that backwards. So the earliest is the 23rd, and the latest, is the 31st. To be posted at each town office and each school. And I went over all this with Betsy. The annual meeting is 7 PM Tuesday, February 25th at Pulteney High School. The vote is town meeting day, March 3rd. Booklets will be available at the town clerk's office at each town, the schools, online, and this is the one I really wanted to check because I wasn't sure if there were other places you put them
So
before
last
in
year
the
we put them in the libraries.
That's what I thought, okay. That was the one area I was not quite sure, and nobody kind of, okay, so the libraries. I've been-
Actually, the libraries passed the most last year.
I bet they did.
Annual books.
I bet they did. What we are doing this year is I've been talking to the town clerks. We don't have to put any information about the budget in the town reports.
Right.
Because now we are fully merged. We don't have any old things from the old school districts.
Right.
But we are going to put in a page just with the annual meeting date, the budget vote, kind of a reminder piece, and where they can get their booklets. So I've spoken to every town clerk, and I'm going to make a little form up and send it out to them hopefully tomorrow. And that's the only thing that will go in the books, but that way,
And the warnings.
I don't think the warnings have to be in theirs, the warnings have to be in ours.
So historically, we've always put the warnings in the books because they come, yeah, particularly since we don't vote from the floor from places anymore, so the warnings go. We've always,
Go in our town book.
yeah.
Okay. Well, that was
Yeah.
the old system. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I have done it like in schools that were,
It would be my preference, the warnings go
I mean,
in
we
the
can
town
do
report.
that, that's not an issue. It's just making a copy and I'll send it to them.
Yeah.
We don't have to, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Technically, it just has to go in Quarry Valley Annual Report. But if you guys feel strongly that you want it in, we can do
probably
it.
should, they feel
Okay.
better about it.
All right, well, that's why we're doing this, right?
Right.
Okay. I'll email them all tomorrow. So hopefully, we can get the warning done tonight. If it's ready, if we have to,
Okay.
yeah. That's all I have, unless anybody wants to add anything.
Thanks, Judy.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, so a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make the motion.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Moving on to personnel. Do we have retirements, resignations, contracts?
We have a couple of we don't have any retirements or resignations. We don't have any vacancies. Debbie's on vacation, so it's just, and the update of new hires is in there.
Professional contracts. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, we do have, hold on. Here it is, contract recommendations.
All right,
We have 3.
okay.
Zachariah Eastman, West Rutland teacher, horizontal movement. Deanna Rodolphe, West Rutland teacher, a horizontal movement. And Andrew Weinberg, he is Proctor Elementary School, long-term sub, and he is at a per diem. And how many days is it? It's
Less than 30.
less than 30 days, that's right. It's like 29 or
Yep.
something.
Yes.
Okay,
And at the last board meeting, you had approved somebody else who
Yeah.
backed out, so now,
right.
yep.
Okay, any questions? A motion would be in order to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. I think we'll do E in executive session?
Yes,
Okay,
and I have that ready for you.
okay. Is there anything budget-wise you want to discuss in open session, Louis? If there are personnel issues in what you have in your hand that you're going to hand out to us, I'd prefer you wait to hand it out to us in executive session.
Do you want to go into executive session, then we'll come out and discuss it in
Okay,
open session after that? Like
Sure.
tax rate and all of that stuff?
we
Or do you want to discuss where we are, tax rate wise, and then we'll? I think there's
could,
a piece that needs to be discussed in open session, whether you want to do it before. or
sure,
after.
that's fine. So I'm fine discussing the tax rate now, but I think there are personnel issues that we need to discuss in executive session, so I'm happy. I just don't want anything passed that has to deal
Maybe
with,
we should go into executive session.
Yeah, I think you
first, so
should
we can
first, 'cause
discuss
it'll
what was
flow better.
decided, and then
okay,
It'll
go from
flow
there. This way
better.
there's we don't have to kind of,
Okay, so a motion to go into executive session for personnel would be in order.
Did somebody move it?
I did.
I'll
Second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, it's 6:50. Do we anticipate? Oh, see, by consensus, we're out of executive session at
voted out.
7:34.
I'm
Can you
not
turn
gonna
that on? Thank
But
you.
I'm not gonna leave.
And Louis is going to talk to us about the tax rate.
so if everybody has this sheet in front of them,
So this is what we need to know from the
Yeah.
Here, take-
Which one are you looking at?
This, the tax rate one?
okay, so I'll take you line by line through the process. This is all the steps in calculating the tax rate. So the first line is the expenditure budget. That's what we'll be looking for you to approve tonight. FY '21 expenditure budget, $18,146,238. That is a 3% increase over last year. Education spending is a calculation of total expense minus local revenue. Local revenue is anything other than property taxes, so it includes tuition revenue, any grants you receive, rental income, student activity income, anything, any revenue you're generating at the school level. It could come from the state, it can come from the feds, anywhere other than property taxes, it's considered local revenue. So you take that local revenue, subtract it from expense, and you get education spending, and that's the amount we have to raise in property taxes. So our education spending for FY '21 is $17,073,651. That is a 3.48% increase over last year. The next thing we look at is equalized pupils. This number is not final from the state yet. I think it's pretty close, but it is subject to change by a couple pupils, give or take. Right now, it's estimated at 1,023.1 pupils. That is an increase over last year of 15.57, 1.55%. That's a good thing. Equalized pupils is a calculation that the state does. It takes the average daily membership, which is taken the 21st days of the first 20 days of the school year, and they average that average daily membership over 2 years, and then they weight that data based on the level of instruction. So pre-K is worth 0.46, elementary students are worth 1, and secondary is worth 1.13. Now, ed spending per equalized pupil is just a simple calculation of ed spending divided by equalized pupils. So you take the 17,073,000 and divide it by 1,023 to come up with our ed spending of $16,688 per pupil. That's a $312 increase per pupil, 1.91%.
That's the number that goes on the warning.
Yes.
How is that, I'm sorry, how is that with the state average or?
I don't know what the state average is, but it is over $2,000 below the state threshold. So the state threshold, so that
That's a good thing,
that
right?
throws
That's
you
a good
in-
thing.
Yes, that's after you exceed the state threshold, then you have penalties and start paying additional taxes, and that's $18,875 approximately. So below that gray line is a merger calculation. This is a new thing that since we merged. So you look at our ed spending per pupil of $16,688, and you divide it by the property yield, which is $10,883. That is a number that comes from the state. The tax commissioner gives his recommendation on December 1st. That is his recommendation. And that number is thrown around the legislation during the legislative session, and usually decided around April or May on what that number is going to be based on the status of the state budget, school spending, revenues, and all those numbers. So this is the number that we have at this point. Couldn't tell you if it's gonna change or not. So we take the 16,688 and you divide it by the 10,833 to get our tax rate before any adjustments, which comes to $1.53. And then since we merged, we are eligible for an incentive. The incentive was 8 cents the first year, 6 cents the second year, 4 cents this year, and then 2 cents next year. So we apply that 4-cent incentive to come up with a unified incentive tax rate of $1.49. If you look to the right in the yellow, this was a piece of the calculation that we had to do the last 2 years. Part of the statute was that if you merged, that your tax rate would not increase or decrease more than 5% in any year for the first 4 years. As of last year, all towns in Quarry Valley have reached the unified rate, so this no longer applies to us. So last year, the tax rate, the unified tax rate was $1.47. And then this year, so the 5% windows don't apply. This year's tax rate is the new unified rate of $1.49, the same that we just talked about. So that number carries down to the bottom, and now we apply the final piece of the calculation, which is the common level of appraisal. That calculation compares the fair market value of your home to your assessed value of your home. If that number is at 100%, that means the fair market value equals the assessed value. As that number increases above 100, it means that your home is overassessed and that the fair market value is under the assessed value, and it decreases your tax rate. If that number drops below 100, it means the fair market value of your house is rising and worth more than your assessed value, and that increases your tax rate. In this situation, all of the common level appraisals have decreased. They've actually decreased in all of the towns in our issue, which means that home values are rising, but that does drive up tax rates, and it affects each town differently. So everybody has the same tax rate until we reach this part of the calculation. If we looked at common level of appraisals that stayed constant with our current budget and all of the other figures, our tax rate is up 1.5 cents for each district. When we apply the common level appraisal, we're looking at a tax rate increase of 1.8 cents for West Rutland, 4.1 cents for Proctor, and 7.4 cents for Poultney.
I lost you on the last line. Where are those numbers that you were just talking about?
So the common level appraisal, 98.15 for Poultney.
Oh, gotcha,
FY 20, it's a 98.48 for Proctor, and 107.33 for West Rutland.
Yep.
You can compare those with the numbers below at the very bottom. Those are the last year's. When you apply those common level appraisals, it gives you a finalized tax rate of $1.52 for Poultney, $1.51 for Proctor, and $1.39 for West Rutland.
I see
When
it.
we compare that to prior year, if you look at the line with the with the highlighted and the 2 lines between it, that's what our increase is for next year. So 7.4 cents for Poultney, 4.1 cents for Proctor, and 1.8 cents for West Rutland, and that's all because of CLA.
We just had our town reappraised as well, though, so that did have an effect on this.
When did the reappraisal?
But
occur?
Last year,
Last year, year before.
so, I mean, we're more in line with what we should be.
So what is Proctor's assessment? 4 point, what did you say Proctor?
Your
Your
common
tax
level
rate?
appraisal is at 98.48, so you're pretty close to 100, but it did drop from last year by about 1.5%.
Right, so I guess I need to know the final line.
The final, so 4.1 cents, the tax
Yeah.
rate increase.
It's the one in bold.
So this is what he says is 4.1.
That's the difference.
Oh, because you're
Yeah, 'cause
saying
that doesn't-
4.1.
Your estimated FY 21 tax rate for Proctor is 1.51 cents.
Okay, then I just want to box that in, so
Yep.
I know what I'm talking about. So 1.5.
The 1.5 cents is before the CLA. It's 4.1 cents after the CLA.
Okay, show me where the
Where do you get
4.1
4.1? I
cents
don't.
Right there.
Point.
That's not 4 point, that's a different.
Estimated
that's
21
That's
minus.
point.
Right,
Yeah.
but
I think what he's
Shit.
That means
Well, these are
4.1.
pennies. So pennies. If you look at pennies, you have a dollar.
It's
So the
like-
penny column is
Okay.
two digits after the
I got
decimal.
you
It'll
now.
be 4 cents.
Right,
Okay, thank you, that helped.
because if it was a 1, it would be 40 cents, you know, if you drop that 0.
All right, questions, comments?
Yeah.
The last draft, which I have, but I'm not gonna dig out, I think you showed us where most of the increases were coming from. Like, people will ask, well, what is that increase? What's driving most of that increase?
Well, what did we say,
It's
health
on the
Health
front,
was like
it's on the front of every
almost
budget, it's
13%.
right here.
It's at the very front,
Well,
right?
that's
Yeah.
a summary,
That's
and then
the
the last
summary.
page of the budget.
The last
And that you
page,
got tonight also
Okay.
does have a breakdown
Wait, which one are you on?
on the actual budget. It starts with the
Okay.
summary of changes,
Yep,
but then if
But
you go
on
to
the
the
last
last
page,
page,
okay.
it has a breakdown by both school
Okay.
and by
Oh, yeah.
major
yeah, yeah.
categories. So right now, our budget's up by 529,000.
Yeah, really.
Of that 529,000 of it, 172 is health increases.
Okay.
SU assessments and billbacks is 284,000.
Right.
Kelly subs 44,000. And then we have estimated increases in salary at 273,000.
So are we gonna build a slide out that essentially says that for the annual meeting? To show where the bulk of the
We're doing a
increases?
PowerPoint that can take this into account.
Are
Okay.
you gonna be there?
Can we, see the PowerPoint? Historically, we've seen it prior to the annual meeting. I just don't wanna get there and have it. Okay. Yeah,
It's not that much.
well, I know.
But like, even
Great,
like a day
Louis.
before would, or a morning before would be good, just to see it before everybody else does.
Yeah.
would be good.
Okay,
Even if you change it, but just, it's nice to see it ahead.
yeah. Questions, comments, concerns, adjustments, suggestions, motions?
I move to accept it.
Second.
You did a good job.
Everybody.
Thank you.
Now I have a grip. I get them all the time with these chairs.
So, motion by Gail, seconded by Jim, to approve,
The budget as presented.
I like that.
okay. I think we should say what the numbers are.
As long as Lewis
Yes.
comes that night.
$18,146,237. Round up $238.
Which is a 3% increase from last year. Good point. Yeah. All right,
You want that in the motion?
Yes.
please.
Because I always mail these to her. Percent increase.
So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Can I say, who did the motion?
Gail,
Gail.
Jim, second. All those opposed? Abstaining?
I
Okay.
will if you want, you're pushing it. You better
I'm just
hurry up and put the gavel down, because it's coming.
I just want to hear your voice.
Did you read the numbers out, so?
Yes.
And I wrote them down, and I also
18
have them
million.
on the warning, so
All
I got
right,
it.
so the warning to be passed, be
There's
signed.
3 copies, but we only really need 2.
Okay,
I just did an extra in case somebody goofed up.
okay. So that was the big piece.
Give everybody 2.
So we do need an executive session with just the board.
Do you wanna
So
start?
if we could have a
There's 2
motion to
signature
go
pages
into
and we'll
executive
just
session for
right around.
personnel and contracts.
Second.
Everybody's here?
Get a signed bulletin?
Yeah, because we keep a copy, and a copy goes to
All those in favor?
Aye.
7:48 into executive session.
the